I woke up this morning fully expecting to be talking about either the ethnicities of Mystara or a long list of leaders, but due to a massive surge in voting last night, instead this week's video is going to be a rundown of the most prominent immortals of thought, and that's by a razor-thin margin over the druids of Mystara. So I'm tossing out my notes and starting over again. Major props to Marco Del Monte for his excellent Codex Immortalis, which makes this so much easier, because it would have been a nightmare piecing this together from all the books the information is scattered across. Now, welcome to Mystara Initiates of Thought. I'm Mr. Welch, and I'm running down who's who in the sphere of thought. First up is Odin, as I'm going through the list in terms of power. From the Northern Reaches Gazetteer comes the Allfather, head of the School of Thought. He is the most prolific of the Immortals, worshipped in one guise or another across the known world, Hollow World, and Savage Coast. He's also one of the oldest of all the Immortals, claiming he lost his memory of his mortal life when he sacrificed his memory for knowledge given to him by Yggdrasil. He has 11 different names that he's worshipped under that we know of, and that's probably selling him well short of his true reach. He has sponsored the Northern Pantheon and Immortality and keeps them close as allies. Even Loki, but that's just to keep a close eye on him. His primary motivation is the spread of knowledge. He pushes his followers to educate those around him and not to keep knowledge sequestered away hidden in vaults. Numina is the patron of the Hollow World Mythians. He was a former pharaoh that discovered the corruption of his people on the surface, too late to stop it, but not too late to save some of them by getting them transferred to the Hollow World. His focus is that of mysteries and hidden knowledge. His ability to figure out what was behind the corruption of the original Mythian is what put him on the path to immortality. He's not a popular immortal, as he's quite detached and distant from immortals and mortals alike, while he delves into the mysteries of the universe. Still, his knowledge and problem-solving skills have caused him to gain quite a lot of power in the sphere of thought. Cordia is the patron of the Pearl Island and world famous for his love of trickery and pranks. He is widely worshipped in many forms, though his worship mainly takes place in more unsettled land rather than the known world. He is worshipped mostly under his given name rather than taking up a mantle of different immortals. The Trickster is old, one of the oldest immortals known, and like the other ancient ones claims to have no knowledge of his mortal past, though if this is a lie or not, no one can actually tell. He believes strongly in teaching people through parables and life lessons, as well as knocking people down abusing their power through deception and exposure. There's not much about Taiki, the patron of luck, at least in canon. She's ancient as far as immortals go, and claims to have earned her immortality through a ridiculous amount of luck, even though she doesn't go into detail. She's neutral in all things, taking no sides and having no allies or enemies either. She only has sponsored 2 immortals, Raven and Torline, who represent good and bad luck respectively. She is quite popular among commoners because they beseech her for good fortune. Asterius dates back to the time of Blackmore, where he eschewed his culture's obsession with technology to focus on the arcane arts and thievery as well. He turned his attention to becoming successful as a merchant. It was at this that he became worthy of immortality and is considered the patron of merchants and thieves today. He has a large following in the known world, Hollow World, and Savage Coast, mostly following him under his original guise. Lana is the patroness of hunters in the tribes of the hinterlands in Divania. She is a popular patron among women who reject cultural norms and who want to strike out on their own. She has a limited following just in Thyatis, the hinterlands, and Robrin on the Savage Coast. Because she is the patron of hunters, she has strong ties to the land and hates those who overhunt or slaughter animals out of cruelty. Halawa is the patron of Traladara and by extension of Karamikos. He is closely tied with Petra and Zerchev and is the patron of warfare and tactics to other cultures. His story is a long and lengthy one, detailed in the Song of Halawa, a Traladaran epic that details his struggles to liberate his nation against the Beastmen. His long and storied battles against the humanoids, in particular gnolls, solidified his legends as well as making him the sworn enemy of all humanoid immortals. While his reach is limited to lands that he actually fought in, he is a very popular immortal among soldiers there, especially those who fight humanoids. Creedy is considered a very strange immortal by anyone except those who worship him. He is the patron of chaos and change in its purest form, and that only through chaos does the world progress. As a mortal, he led the tribes that would become the Ethengarians, helping them survive the Great Rain of Fire. He was a longtime enemy of the static and rigid Blackmore Empire, and when they destroyed themselves, he considered his opinions on them validated. He's not malicious, but he does believe that law without change is stagnation, and constantly challenges the status quo. His influence is limited to Ethengarians, but his doctrines are spread wherever the Ethengarians call home. The immortal calling himself Sinbad is a mystery. He just appeared as an immortal one day, claiming to be an immortal from another part of the multiverse. The rumors of who he actually is numerous, but none are more valid than another. He was adopted by the Blackmore culture as one of their own, and could have been a major factor in their far-reaching empire. He is the patron of travelers and wanderers. His priests actually have no temples built to him as they're forbidden from building permanent structures, so they can pack up and move at a moment's notice. Because of his charisma and optimistic message, he is a popular immortal with followers wherever his priests roam. Ahamani Turtle Rider is the patron of the Turtle Clan and part of the Etrugan pantheon. She was Etrugan's closest confidant and lover, though his eternal youth eventually caused them to part ways. She's known for her mercurial nature. She changes moods quite frequently depending on how a situation develops. Though slain by orcs during the initial conquest of her tribal land, when Etrugan returned and drove out the humanoids, he restored her to life and helped her ascend to immortality on her own. Frey and Freya are a pair of sibling immortals whose story is inseparable. In their mortal lives, they fought both the forces of the frost giants as well as thwarting the machinations of Hel herself. They adventured all over the known world in search of adventure, where they both ascended into immortality. Together they are the patrons of bravery, with Frey becoming the patron of virility and friendship, while Freya took on the mantle of prophecy and fertility. They have a small and limited following, but they are some of the most popular immortals in the northern reaches. Cordia is the patron of pacifism, one of the only immortals from Old Alphatia to transition to Mystara. As a mortal, he was known for his great negotiation skills and his ability to stop even the most bitter conflicts. He achieved immortality by completing a quest that included creating the Dark Witch Cursi, which contained all of his negative traits, and left her behind so he could ascend to immortality. He is not a popular immortal. His worship is mainly in Ochalia and the small parts of other lands that value peace above all else. Raven is the only immortal to come from the flying city of Serain, and the only Hen immortal not part of the high heroes of the Shire. He is the patron of good luck, entertainment, and guile. He was known for his good luck through his mortal years, never having to take anything seriously because his luck would always come through in the end. As an immortal, he is known for being a complete slacker, never taking his duties seriously, as he prefers to play games with other chaotic immortals, though somehow his duties always seem to get done anyways. The last of the thought immortals I'm going to talk about is Nobnar. There's about 36 immortals of time, and quite a few of them only have a single paragraph of canon, so I'm not padding this. Nobnar is one of the high heroes, the pantheon of Hen immortals that watch over the 5 shires. He is famous for possibly being the youngest mortal to ever ascend, and possibly during his Yularan period. He is the patron of adventurers and audacity, with no restrictions on how off-the-wall the adventurers can become. Because of this, he is the default patron immortal Hen in their Yularan phase. That wraps up the Immortals of Thought. I covered about half of them, at least the ones with a large amount of history. The Immortals of Thought tend to be a varied bunch, with at least one patron of war, several patrons of trickery, though most immortals tend to be the scholarly type. Next week I'll be adding to the list of options on how to expand the existing empires or create new empires from the existing nations. So until then, remember, a whim, a thought, and more is sought. Awake your mind, it will be wrought.